when I tell a story. I've been a teacher, so we've got a row of teachers here that are going. And my older brother and I have been saying for 20 years that we are really excited about life, and what we're going to have in our old age is we're going to have our stories in that rocking chair on that porch. So as I said, and I appreciate you introducing me that way, we need to have some good ones. I'm going to tell you a story today about my life, and there's a number of great adventures Kathy and I have had, but today I'm going to tell you about growing up on a farm in Ohio. I grew up on a farm in Ohio. It was right after World War II. My father had just gotten home from the Army. He served on a little island in the Pacific called Guam. My mother had just gotten home from living with her sister during the war. My father had gone away a farmer and came back an aircraft mechanic. And my mother had gone away a new wife, a new bride, and she came back a new mother. As they came back and they started their little family and they returned to the family farm, I was born, and my older brother Fred had already been born 2 years before. A younger brother Ike was born 2 years later. And we had a great little family living on the farm. Dad went back to work on the farm, and he also took some other odd jobs to make a living. And my mother, she loved to be a mother. She loved to be a mother so much that there were no Barnes & Noble to buy a baby book, and there were no Lamaze classes at the local hospital. There was just her learning about being a mother. And when my brother was born, my older brother, she started an album, and she would cut things out of Reader's Digest. And she would look at articles in the newspaper, and she would make notes from people and about growing up, about raising children. She would make those notes and she'd put them into that album. She loved being a mother. She made sure we went to church. She took care of my dad. She took care of all of us. My brothers and I had a great time living on a farm, rolling down the hills on the farm, playing in the barnyard with the animals. We had cats and dogs and a dog named Sport. We had all kinds of wonderful things in our life. But life, and I would say at that point, if I thought about it, that I would say, Lord, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. But life doesn't stay the same, and it changes. When I was 6 years old, my mom got sick. She got sick very quickly. When she went to sleep, she couldn't breathe. When she couldn't breathe, she couldn't sleep. When she couldn't sleep, she couldn't rest. She went into the hospital, and she never came home. I was mad. I was confused. I was sad. And I know my brothers were as well. And I know my dad was also, because he'd lost his babe. He'd lost that lady that he loved too soon. And I thought about that as a little boy. And at the funeral, I began to hear people, little rumblings, little stories, little questions. Well, what's going to happen to these little boys? This man can't take care of them. He's got to work. They need a family. They've got to have a family. And so this was my aunts and my uncles and my grandparents. They were talking about this. What's going to happen to these little boys? Ike, Newt, and Fred. I'm Newt. And in that process, we heard my mother's parents stepped up and said, we'll take the boys. We'll take all three of them. We can raise them. That's what their mother would want them to do. This was my grandpa and grandma Schweitzer, my Aunt Arlene, and my Uncle John. And so we went to live with them on a little farm, another little farm, in a little house with one room that we could be in. 4 family, now is a family of 7. Well, life changed. There wasn't rolling in the hills anymore. They weren't playing in the barnyard. There was work. We had morning chores and evening chores. We had summer work, we had evening work. It was dirty work, it was greasy work, it was hard work. There was always work, it was dusty work. I really didn't like that. And I'm not sure they knew what they had gotten into when they started to raise us and said, we'll raise you. Because there's 3 little boys, 4, 6, and 8. Today, I wonder, thinking back about it, would they have said, is it Fred, Newt, and Ike? Or is it know-it-all, smart Alec, and who's that strange little boy? Because we were just 3 little boys trying to grow up. Well, there was a turning point, and I'm not sure where, but a turning point where I said, you know, I don't want to be a farmer. And my aunt and I, we didn't jihad very well, and we had struggles. My brother had trouble in school, and my little brother had trouble in school, but I struggled, and I said, I don't want to be a farmer. When I grow up, I'm leaving. I'm never coming back. And I did just that. I grew up, went to school, went to the Army, and moved on in life, and decided if I came back to the farm, it would be to visit. And that's what I did. And over that time, you know, I lived life. I had struggles. I had successes. I had failures. I achieved things. And it didn't work out. I wasn't in control. And I thought to myself over time, well, Grandpa taught us that if we worked hard, we could have a harvest, a good harvest. And when I was sick, and I was sick a lot when I was a little boy, he would come in at night, and if you were sick, you slept in the bed with Grandpa, and Grandma went upstairs. And he held my hand, and he took my pulse, and he rubbed Vicks on my chest. And he made sure I was okay. And my grandmother worked in the garden, and she shelled beans, hoed weeds, made sure peeled potatoes, which we stole out to school as we came off the school bus, stole a potato or 2 just for our snack. But she prepared those things for us for dinner. And my Uncle John, on that dusty field, baling hay, bouncing wagon, taught us poems, taught us a little bit of German, took us on our first trip ever to the Smoky Mountains. Just speared forward, you know, stimulated that love for travel that I have today. And my Aunt Arlene, she was an amazing woman. She was always there, even though there were times I was struggling, and she struggled with me. But she had my brothers drive her to every one of my graduations. Every time I graduated, hundreds of miles, so she was there. And every time I saw her, as I came to visit and sit and talk, she'd hug me and kiss me and tell me she loved me. She was always there. And I realize now, as I think about it, as I think back on it, I realize now the miracle that my 3 brothers and I got to be together. The miracle of the love of people for their daughter, for my mother, and how much they cared. And I realize today that I really, really feel and care about all of those folks in my life, and my brothers, and the men they made us. And I say, Lord, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.